mic balance so it doesn't peak.
So we're recording on the same microphone?
Yep.
Let's see how that picks up. Hey, testing, 1, 2. Trevor, thanks so much for having me in today.
You see how it's
Oh, I see it. Ask me about my mug, Trevor. We're doing a quick sample.
We could do headphones.
So-
I have a jack splitter so we can have two pairs.
That works for me. Hello. I was invited to be on the podcast tomorrow. We're just doing a quick Audacity sound check. No, for real, ask me about my mug.
Where'd you get your mug?
Very funny you should ask. I'm actually holding it the wrong side. This mug is from Harvard University. I recently got certified at Harvard University, kind of as a joke. I took a 6-week program on something called instructional coaching, which was actually good, but now that I'm Harvard certified, I'm making it my whole personality. So I got this in a sweatshirt. This is a little ethos boost for myself.
Well, that brings me back. I forgot about ethos.
Ethos, yeah, see, ethos, remember, is all about credibility. So if someone says, Mr. Short, I don't like you, you don't know what you're talking about, I don't want to work with you, I can say, you're not just talking to Mr. Short, you're talking to a Harvard-certified professional. My mug proves it, my sweatshirt proves it, my framed certificate in my office proves it. 3 layers of ethos right there. And hey, at the end of the day, people might love you or hate you, but are you Harvard-certified? These are the questions I ask myself.
What did you get certified for?
Something called instructional coaching. It's something where teachers work with other teachers in the building to help them develop professionally. That's half of my role in the school these days.
I'm worried you're going to be too loud and I'll be too quiet.
That's why we're testing it out.
Yeah.
If I'm loud, I need to project, but I can stand further away. Just got to play it back and see how it picks up.
If you watched my video, right, with Freeman?
Yeah.
When I was editing that, I don't enunciate very well, especially that video.
Neither did I when I was your age.
Yeah,
That's
I didn't
how
enunciate very well.
Yeah.
I kind of mumbled at points.
Yeah. Why do you think that was? Is that how you speak typically, or just because you were nervous?
A bit of both. It's just how I am.
Well, just remember, you know what you need, and this might take a little homework and time, is a persona. Because for right now, you're not talking to Michael Short. Michael's kind of shy. You're talking to Mr. Short. Mr. Short's a big personality. Comes in, runs the room, gestures wildly. You gotta listen to people like Howard Stern, who will go on the mic and make it a whole production. Because if Trevor feels shy, because that's the thing, my feelings never matter. If Trevor feels shy, Trevor comes off as shy. So you're Team Money McRae, the voice of Pathfinder Tech, the podcast king in the school, you kind of have like a defensive armor of. That's why if somebody were to insult Michael Short, he would feel offended. If somebody insults Mr. Short, I don't even feel it, because that's a character I created to get myself through the day unscathed. So that's why, like, right now, some people would feel awkward talking loud and kind of in a cocky manner in front of a student and 2 adults who can hear everything. Michael Short, if he was here, he might feel kind of strange. Mr. Short isn't even registering this. So you might just need and I'm not saying be fake or be disingenuous, but you might just need a bit of a persona you can step into from when you're on camera, you know? Who do you like to listen to for podcasts and stuff?
I never really was a big podcast guy. I always preferred more visual things, but during COVID, I just have it on in the background. I would watch a lot of the H3 podcast.
Not H, is that like he, but elite? Is that the gimmick?
I think Ethan Klein.
No idea.
No.
That's where the Generational Divide podcast comes in. You can try to explain Skibbity to me, and I'll just react. That's the whole thing people have online. People react to things. I have
not touched that with 10-foot.
See, because the young kids are more into the brain rot than your generation. You guys were the last generation to not have brain rot. I think because 11th grade or 12th grade is the line between Gen Z and Gen Alpha. That's when it switches.
I think you forgot about MLG and Shrek is Love, Shrek is Life, and.
Oh yeah, I hadn't thought about it, but it makes me shudder.
Do you know the way?
Yeah, these things all ring a very... like
somebody touching my spaghetti.
It's weird, like my head is actually throbbing now that you're saying these words. Yeah, I haven't thought about those in a while. Big generational divide. In my day, we had the Muffin Lady and Mitty Moo. Not very funny, didn't age well, but it was much more slow pace of brain rot. Yeah, want to play this back and see how it sounds?
Yeah, I think we're at it.
That's 4 minutes. Okay, so we're recording now?
Yeah.
I can't tell if I'm hearing myself or if it's a weird thing. Okay, so speaking at this volume, it's close to peaking. Okay, so speaking at this volume seems great. This is conversational, this is light, this is breezy.
Would you prefer wearing headphones when we record?
Sure, I don't have a preference.
Yeah.
Actually, I study stoicism a lot, and part of stoicism is training yourself to not have preferences. People say, Mike, where do you want to eat? I say, I don't care where we eat. I care in the sense that I'll go, but I will enjoy my meal no matter what. People say, Mike, what's your favorite color? Every color is fine.
The whole spectrum.
Yep.
Whole spectrum.
Well, some, combinations are better than others, but what I mean is that it doesn't matter. I don't have a favorite seat. I don't have a favorite chair. I learned to accept.
It's good quality.
Well, especially with toddlers. You have a toddler, they want a certain kind of... They don't want their spoon in the yogurt. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. And it makes people very whiny.
Yeah.
And picky. I don't like either of those qualities.
So
I like people who are
I'm
breezy.
gonna fiddle with the gain.
Yeah. The gain of function.
It was already maxed out, so I'm gonna put it at like 3/4. See how that does.
We got to make some really controversial headlines so that we can get tracked. That's what the podcasters do on YouTube. It's like all caps, like Mr. Short shuts down people who have a favorite spoon. How do people get your attention online? Is that usually it's like, you won't believe what this mother said about
It's usually
fluoride.
jingling keys in front of a toddler, just like big bright colors on the thumbnail, all caps.
Yeah. That's actually
usually like
as you know, being in this program, brightness has a huge factor. The mic went out on the right side, but yeah, brightness is a huge influence.
Is it still being funny?
Is it? Well, no, it's I only hear the mic on the left.
The what?
Oh, you know what? So when I turn I think your wire's kind of tingling. Right now it's good. When I turn to my head, the mic on
I
the right
was
side
messing with that. I don't know if it
balance.
Hello.
Yeah, it sounds good now. Yeah, because if somebody's listening to a podcast with only one earbud in,
There's different patterns here. You can mess with. It's right now. It's on like there's like little figure 8. I'm gonna switch them. See how.
Okay.
Hello?
La do re mi. Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good.
There's 4. So this is the third one.
Hello. I'm more confident in that one.
You like this one?
Well, I think that gives it, for me anyway, it sounds more like I'm in a room. There's not a bad echo, but it just sounds like there's a little bit more atmosphere.
This is the.
Missy, am I being a big distraction right now, by the way?
No.
Okay.
Everyone's doing their thing.
Okay. Thank you.
This is the last one. Alright.
Hello. No, this one
Ooh,
sounds
look
like
at that.
well.
That's funny looking.
Yeah, I do not like this one at all. This one's out.
So,
It's, not only do I not like it, it's also
headphones.
starting to go. Do what?
I want to hear the headphones.
It's a nightmare. That setting's a nightmare. If I could unset that setting, I would.
It sounds like we're like in a cardboard box.
Yep, it's like I'm in a well and it's raining.
Little Timmy fell in the well.
No, it's like the rain. Well, setting number 4 is just terrible.
Oh, okay.
But setting, I think 2 was my favorite.
This one,
See, if we're gonna get sponsored by BetterHelp and Squatch soap, then those are like the biggest podcast sponsors I always get, right?
Alright, so it's on the second one. This is the first one. The first one, the figure 8 one, it sounds a lot more close.
Sounds formal. That's good.
Like close
Trev,
to the
how long
ear.
have you been using Rocket Money for? Because I've
Never.
saved thousands of dollars using
Never.
Rocket Money. Use promo
I've
code Pioneer.
only
for
had
20%
to
off
start
now.
worrying about adult expenses in the past few months.
Really, what adult expense do you have? You drive?
Car insurance, yeah.
Car insurance is no joke. I would recommend doing the program they have with AAA, the Safe Drivers program. Let me say, this is where I'm going to be tomorrow. This is the studio. Do the kids today still have the... okay, that's a little bit too loud. Do kids today still have the Safe Drivers program at AAA? Back when I was a boy. When was this? 18 years ago.
I'm still listening.
I know. So driver's insurance is very high. You take a 6-week program with AAA, you get like $70 off per month. Teaches you how to be a Sunday driver like myself. I'm at a point now with defensive driving, I don't even take left turns. I'll just take a right, so I know it's safe and quick, and go around. Wife does not like driving with me, but I get by. Haven't been in a car crash yet. Actually, I've been in 2, but neither were my fault. That's why I don't like using the brakes. People love to ram their car into me as I'm at a full stop.
How far do you like to drive over the limit?
I really don't drive over the limit, at most 10 miles per hour, and only if it's at a place with no pedestrians. People always brag, I went 110 on the highway. I'm like, why?
You should drive.
It's not fun. Your car sucks and it's shaking. And like you're just putting your life at risk for what? To go fast? If I want to go fast, to go on a roller coaster. How about you get a hobby? Get a life, you stupid Mark. That's verbatim what I say. If you ever brag about how fast you drive to me, I ask how many hobbies you have. It's always less than 3, and one's always vaping. And so I'm not into it, Trev. I'm not.
There's 3 hobbies you don't like?
There's multiple hobbies I don't like. I'm just saying, if the way that you're getting a kick out of your life is by driving fast, you really need to reassess your priorities. Now, given, I'll make an exception if you're a dirt biker.
Throw those on.
Because it's safe to dirt bike fast if you're on a dirt road. I'll make an exception if you like go-karts. But if you're on a road, you got to realize there's people in cars with their families, sometimes can't see well. You're treating it like your own personal road race, then, I don't like you, I don't support you.
You're sounding a bit far away.
Far away? Ooh. Yeah, I've been told I sound distant many times in my life. Sometimes literally, sometimes figuratively. Always true. Always true.
I'm not sure how to put this so it has equal
I don't even really know what
coverage.
that does. Buffering sound.
Wind
hello.
protector.
But where is the wind coming from? The AC's not on.
I don't know, P's and F's.
Rice pilaf, fillet of fish.
Pepperoni.
A fillet of fish or a pepperoni pizza. A pepperoni fillet, a fish pizza. I think that sounds fine.
I have a big,
A bugaboo?
yeah.
What's your bugaboo, Trev?
I've never heard that term, but I have a bad habit of cutting people off in the middle of their sentences.
Oh, wow.
When I have a rebuttal to that thought, and I don't realize that they're still speaking.
Yeah.
I did that to you a few minutes ago. I don't want to do that over the podcast, so do you have any tips and tricks on how to tell when people are done speaking their mind?
Yeah, well, have you ever seen that movie Fight Club?
No, I have not.
In it, the antagonist, Tyler Durden, says, most people, when they're talking to you, or most people, when they're having a conversation, they aren't listening. They're just waiting for their turn to speak. And so my guess is, if you've ever wanted to, if you're in the habit of cutting people off midpoint to rebut them, you're probably not listening. So I just say try actively listening. If I'm trying to show someone I listen, I usually do an eye contact trick, and I kind of nod. And then when there's a little pause, I might say something warm like, let me push on that a little bit, or, oh, that, you know what caught my attention? What you said here, because my opinion on that was, etc., then fill in the gaps. But active listening is good. Also, the eye contact trick, people think they love eye contact, but true eye contact looks like this. People at home can't see this, but Trevor, how do you feel right now about this interaction when I'm giving you this level of eye contact? You can use a synonym. That's a describing word. Actually, synonym's not a describing word. I meant to say an adjective. It's a describing word. Synonym are words that mean the same thing.
I started thinking about how I can describe your eye color.
Yeah, it's very controversial. Some say it's brown, some say it's hazel. I think it depends on the season. Anyways, most people think eye contact is looking people in the eyes with both of their eyes, and that's very creepy. And you really only do it if you're about to fight somebody.
It's like
The eye contact trick, well, here's how you do it right, Trevor. I'm here to inspire the people at home. The key to good eye contact, like right now we're having good eye contact, is you only make eye contact with one eye. So right now, my left eye is lined up with your right eye. My right eye is lined up with your left eye. You feel comfortable, you feel heard, you feel validated, you probably feel like $1,000,000. Then I shift to this. And you're like, is Mr. Short going to kill me? Is Mr. Short a serial killer?
So what, do that?
You don't need to necessarily cock your head that way, but whenever I look somebody in the eyes, I only ever look at one of their eyes. One eye is not a threat, that's kind. Two eyes is a threat.
I'm not really sure how to look at both of their eyes. I just look at like the bridge of their nose. If I try.
Yeah, well, that kind of happens. But if you're like this is just threatening. Like right now, I might just give you a detention because I feel threatened based on the eye contact. But right now, I'm your buddy. I'm your friend. We're having fun. But that's good. Actually, one thing about eye contact you might not know, Trev. Then I'll pass the mic to you because I'm being a ball hog. If you have somebody who's more of a visual learner, they won't make eye contact with you because they're looking around. So even with me, I might be like, look at the ceiling, and because subconsciously I'm looking for the words on the ceiling of what I'm trying to say. I heard that once in college. I'm not sure if it's true, but got a degree, cum laude, by the way. So you tell me. I don't know.
I will say sometimes, back to the interrupting people, I accidentally I misinterpret their pauses because I think they're done talking, and then I go to talk, and then they keep talking. I'm like, well, and it's an awkward moment.
Yeah. Well, I won't say you're fully to blame. I think If I catch and I'm kind of doing it now as a joke, but I'm not going to do it anymore. If somebody's ever talking for longer than a minute and they don't pause to let you interject, they're not trying to talk to you, they're just trying to lecture you. And I think that's very rude. Unless the question is something like, I'd like to hear your life story. Or if like you're in a therapy session and it's like, tell me all about what's led you to this issue. Like sometimes it's appropriate, but if we're having a conversation, one, I should care about your input too, but also I might want to make sure you're tracking me. So I might ask you a question, like I'll make a point and say, does that make sense? Or, do I sound crazy right now? Or does that kind of land with you? And then that will kind of naturally invite you. So I'd say if you're having this issue, maybe you're being a little bit rude and waiting for your turn to talk, but maybe you're talking with some rude people as well who don't know that a conversation goes both ways.
It's pretty universal, especially if you're a teacher.
That's right.
Yeah.
Especially. People are talking to me all the time. And I'd caution you as a young podcaster, you never want to start a reply to anybody for any reason saying, yeah, but. If you ever say, yeah, but, it seems like you didn't listen. You could say yes and, or another factor for that is, or one thing I'm still kind of grappling with. There's a litany of different things you could say. But I've known people who don't listen to a word I say, and everything is, yeah, but this, yeah, but that. Shut up, dude. Because if you don't, I don't need to talk to you. I have a billion things to do. If you're going to yeah, but me all day, whether yeah, but an empty room. Because they won't talk back to you. Because if you're yeah, butting constantly, you just want to they should get a podcast. If you're listening right now, you're in the habit of yeah, butting people, just make a podcast called Yeah, But, have no guests, and have it just be you ranting at the mic like Tim Dillon. That's what I like.
Tim Dillon?
He's a comedian and a podcaster, but his gimmick is he generally doesn't have guests. He just kind of rants about things. Yeah. So some people don't like it. Some people do. I'm not here to judge. I'm just saying it's not pro-conversation to yeah, but all the time. So we got eye contact, waiting for the pauses. You might actually want to be a little bit more assertive, Trev, in a different way. Instead of interrupting with your point, you could say something like, can I ask a question about that? And then they might say, hold on real quick, let me finish my point. Or maybe they'll say yes. You never know.
Can I ask a question about that?
Absolutely.
Can you repeat that?
I was trying to give you ways you can interject in a conversation without feeling as though you're interrupting.
Yeah.
See, this pause is I was done. That would have been golden. It's going to switch every time.
Yeah.
Yep, that's what it's all about. That's what I'm here for. How we sounding? Just picking up? It seems like we're not picking too much anymore. So
I feel like I'm a bit quiet, and I keep doing that.
Well, what do you want the tone of your podcast to be? Examples of tone could be funny, scary, inquisitive, adventurous, inspiring.
What do you mean by inquisitive?
Just like maybe like you're Joe Rogan, like you just have a lot of questions about things. You're kind of a blank slate. You're just trying to squeeze information out of whoever you're speaking to.
Have you been to the beach that makes you old?
I haven't heard of that one. But inquisitive, that's where the word quiz comes from. Inquisitive, to ask questions.
I gotta show you that clip. There's a funny meme of
Rogan?
Yeah, Rogan and the guy with the eyebrows with the hot sister.
I don't know somebody by.
Isn't he like a lawyer?
I don't know a guy with eyebrows or with
his name.
I don't see anybody but my wife, so I can't speak to his sister's
he's a
beauty.
big podcaster himself.
With Theo Vaughn?
No, he's like kind of short and like skinny and nasally.
Oh, Ben Shapiro?
Yeah, Ben Shapiro.
I didn't know he had a sister.
Yeah, there's an edit of Ben Shapiro and Joe Rogan. I gotta send you that. The beach that makes you old.
I'll see the link if you send it.
Yeah.
I'll see the link. It sounds like a funny premise. But yeah, that's inquisitive, I guess. Just trying to learn something, ask questions. There was a reason I asked you. What was it? Shucks. Oh yeah, reason I asked you is because you were commenting on your voice still being kind of quiet. If you want to be not too serious or on the funnier side, I heard a comedian say, people often talk about what they like and don't like, and that's not funny. But it is funny to talk about what you love and hate. So if it's like, I don't like my alarm in the morning, that's not funny.
Yeah.
I hate my alarm in the morning. That's funny. But I say that to mean usually people get louder when they're talking about something that they're passionate about or they have a vested interest in. And so if you come into any conversation, maybe it's inquisitive, maybe it's not, but with just like a hot take on something, like, sure, you got to explain what this mug is about. You're not, you're not walking around with a thermos.
You could spill that anyway. See, even I'm so worked up on the mug now, even though I'm just pretending, I'm getting louder by accident.
You have to have emphasis.
Yeah, but if you have emphasis, but I think that happens naturally if you're naturally fired up about what you're talking about. So there's two options for that. One is you could just talk about things you actually care about. Or if not, there's an old expression, fake it till you make it. No matter what comes up, you could just seem very irritated by it, very excited by it, very inspired by it, very curious about it. You'll be like, oh, sure, you're using mousse in your hair now? Mousse? Huh. Tell me, what's the benefit of mousse in hair?
I've never really understood that saying, fake it till you make it.
Yeah, what it means is most people have what you might call imposter syndrome and don't feel apt to do the job they're assigned, and yet, well, for instance, like, I was your teacher, right? If I walked into the room and I was all mousy and shy and self-conscious and visibly sweating, and every assignment I was giving you, I was like, I think this makes sense, guys. I hope you like it. If not, you could do a different assignment. Like, how far am I going to get? Sometimes I make mistakes, and sometimes I'm wrong, and sometimes I'm not confident, but fake it till you make it means act confident in what you're doing and saying, and then eventually you'll make it, it will be so. Like, I used to be so nervous when I was teaching back in the day. Like, I would sweat, my heart would throb the whole time, I'd be a nervous wreck, like with stomach aches, but I would always seem, people would always say, oh, sure, you seem cool, seem confident. It's kind of like a duck. Ducks look calm and confident, but their legs are furious underneath. But now, teaching's very natural to me. I've done it for a long time. I don't panic over it, even whether I have a good day or a bad day, because, everyone has both. I've gotten to a point where I don't feel like I'm lying anymore. I just feel confident in what I'm saying. But my first few years, like, every day was completely manufactured. And not in a dishonest way, like I'm lying about what we're doing, just in the sense that I didn't feel really confident leading a class or teaching a lesson or anything like that.
Is this the origin story of the Mr. Short persona?
No, that's part of it, for sure. It could be.
We've been recording
and
for
I also exaggerate
minutes.
that. I exaggerate that a little. This could actually be maybe this would be more interesting than what we're going to record tomorrow. This could be the deep cut. I exaggerate that a little bit, but it is partially true. It wasn't like I sat down and mapped out exactly that. I think it's important to recognize your relationship to other people in every situation. So, like, for instance, the way I speak to my wife isn't the way I speak to my kids, and the way I speak to my kids isn't the way I speak to my mom. You kind of need to modulate yourself for your audience. Sometimes in schools, though, the way you need to be in front of students is just much different from how you might be in general. For instance, I don't think it's appropriate to lose your temper at kids. So, like, I don't think it's appropriate to yell at kids. Every teacher in the world's had a time where they have, and maybe they feel bad about it, but I don't think it's a good habit to be in. If I'm ever having a bad day personally, I have an issue, my car's broken, or I lost some money, or I had a fight with somebody, I don't think it's appropriate to come into the school being all gloom and doom. And so when I talk about having the persona of Mr. Short, there's just certain things I think a teacher should be. So I think a teacher should be kind to people. A teacher should be energetic. A teacher should always be willing to listen. If a teacher gets the same question that's not a great question for the 7th time in the row, you shouldn't be sarcastic. You should try to be supportive. And so when I talk about the persona of Mr. Short, part of that is also, as a teacher, you need to be comfortable talking. And I can't tell you how many teachers I've worked with who are like, well, I love teaching, but I get really anxious and I have bad stage fright, so I can't really lead the class today. And it's like, well, fine, but you're in a position where you need to public speak 5 hours of the day.
Yeah.
So even if that's how you feel, that's not how you can act. You have like a little brother, right?
Yeah, he turned 10 this Halloween.
Yeah, so here's kind of an extreme example. If you're like watching out for your little brother and something really scary happens, like there's a fire, there's a burglar, there's a public freak out, even if you're freaked out, you're probably going to act kind of confident just so your little brother doesn't freak out, right?
Yeah.
And as a teacher, it's kind of the same thing where I'm aware that my mood and my tone will really impact the energy of the room. And so even if I'm feeling annoyed, negative, and tired, and I don't want to be here, I wish there was a snow day too, I'm sick of MCAS too, whatever the case may be, I don't let that come off. And it's not because I like lying to kids, it's because if I'm a role model to people, either because they like me or just because I'm somebody in a room wearing a suit, I want to be aware that the impact I'm having is the impact I want to be having.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You want to be strong for them.
Yeah, for sure. And I think also, too, as far as the persona goes, there's I think my first year teaching, I was in a pretty tough school when,
Could you,
Yes, sorry. I was in kind of a tough school where there was a lot of violence. Let's just say, I don't want to bash them too much because they did give me employment, so I never speak too poorly of an old employer, but let's just say there was a lot of violence, a lot of cussing out. I got called a lot of names many times.
Would you pick up shell casings off the hallway floor?
It's not even much of an exaggeration, Trevor, believe it or not. But in any case, if you're in a position where you're kind of new to a job and you're young and people are saying, F you this, I hate you that all day, it's easy to kind of go into a shell and take things personally, because sometimes I didn't know at the beginning of my career, just because someone says something to you doesn't mean it's personal or not. And so partially it's having a personality that if someone's talking crazy to you, maybe it can be kind of scary, but you don't mind standing up for yourself. You don't mind letting it roll off your shoulders. So you kind of develop that, I think, partially as a defense mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I think it is a good thing ultimately, because we need to exist in the world. You know.
True.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did that make sense? I was starting to. I realized I did a thing where I wasn't giving you a pause, but it was kind of a long answer. So I apologize for being a bad guess in that moment.
I think I should double dose of my meds tomorrow. my ADHD.
Word. Well, or maybe not. Because maybe if, well, how does that medicine help you, if you don't mind me asking? Also, as a medical question, I don't need to ask, you don't need to give me an answer. I thought for the podcast it could be interesting.
It helps with my impulse decisions, impulse control.
So you have better control of your impulses.
In a way, yeah, but I've realized that my attention span and will to, like, do things comes down to just me as a person. Like, a medicine isn't going to give me the motivation to do something. I just need to get off my ass and do it.
That's reflective. Well, I wonder also if from a podcasting point of view, being more spontaneous is helpful. Maybe focusing is harder, but this could turn in some really weird directions, and that can be fun for the audience.
Yeah.
You know,
it's like this kind of aged not so great, but there's a quote from Kanye saying that ADHD is his superpower.
Yeah, like if he was medicated, he probably wouldn't have made not these shoes.
And
those
I kind of connected with that because there's studies that show that ADHD can heighten your creativity and can be more energetic.
Yeah.
More lively.
Yeah.
More bubbly.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, if you're listening, I know you're not a big podcast guy, but if you're listening to a podcast, you want a podcast with somebody who's creative, lively, and bubbly, or somebody who has very good impulse control? Which one sounds like more of a fun podcast? Now, given this isn't an assignment, you're not a professional podcaster, and I'm not recommending what you do or do not do with your medicine, but it is, as far as doubling down goes, I might have the opposite take. Again, I could get in very serious trouble for giving you medical advice, so I'm not. I'm just asking questions.
Where's your license?
That's what we're all about. Yeah, my license is not for medicine or neurological studies. That's what podcast is all about, asking questions. Just asking questions.
I think that just about does it. Don't you have a job to do?
Yes. Well, thanks for having me on today, Trev. I loved the rough draft. I look forward to coming on tomorrow. And if we probably shouldn't release this, but if there's a big demand after tomorrow's stuff. And everybody, please don't forget DraftKings.com. Use promo code Pioneer for 30% off. And it'll slide us $5 for each of you who does that. So that's DraftKings.com, promo code Pioneer tonight.
Display in Raid Shadow Legends.
Yes. Take care, Trev.
Yeah. I just want room noise. Hello, everybody. Come ramble with me about whatever comes to our minds today. I am here today with my sophomore English teacher, who I managed to drag in, Mr. Michael Short.
Hey now. Trevor, I gotta say congratulations on the new podcast. This must be huge for you.
Appreciate it.
Do you think this could be your King Schmaltz Bagel Hour?
I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't assigned to me.
Okay. Well, I'm happy you didn't ask at all what King Schmaltz Bagel Hour is. I'm not going to explain it here because we have limited time parameters, but any of your listeners at home might Google that, and I mean it as a compliment.
Whenever I do these, I like to start with a warm-up question.
Okay, because I am feeling kind of chilly today. I actually have like retinoids. If you look at my fingers, they're turning white. For no reason. I have very long phalanges, and so I don't get great blood circulation. I'm like Superstar. You ever see the movie Superstar, Trevor?
No, I have not.
There's this kind of nerdy girl, and she always like puts her hands under her armpits like this. You gotta look her up. It's from an old SNL sketch, but yeah, somebody pull that up, Jamie. Somebody fact check that. Pull up Superstar fingers. Yeah, people, you see, that's her. Yeah, if you're listening at home, you might not appreciate this unless you're looking it up. But that's essentially me. All times of the day.
Will Ferrell? Who is that?
Yep, it's a young Will Ferrell. Because people don't really realize how many stars come from SNL. Lots of movies were inspired by it. You can't take that for granted. But I don't, I don't take for granted, Trevor. You, being a shy young kid, doing your own first YouTube channel, now podcast. You're a little bloomin' onion. So what's this warm-up question I've been waiting for?
What's your favorite type of ball?
My favorite type of ball?
Yeah.
Probably a mozzarella ball. I like, if I'm snacking, I love a charcuterie board. I love some fresh mutts with some prosciutto is my ideal. You ever have a mozzarella ball, or are you just familiar with the mozzarella sticks?
I don't really have a preference on my cheese shapes.
Well, no, if you get fresh mutts, it comes, and instead of mozzarella, if you're a real, charcuterie guy, call it fresh mutts. It comes in the shape of a ball, sometimes with an oil, a little basil. It's untouchable. So, that's my favorite kind of ball. How about, do you have a ball preference, Trevor? Maybe a debutante ball? That was my second choice, was a debutante ball.
I'm not familiar with
It's a
that.
kind of party for like a young elite person. Pull it up, Jamie. Look up a debutante ball. I think we're doing I'm not sure when this is going to air. Right now we're in the midst of Spirit Week, which has been a riot.
How do you spell this?
I'm going to let you sound it out because I want to explain to the listeners at home. We have Adam Sandler Day. Everybody in the building is dressing like they always do, but pretending they're Adam Sandler. Trevor's looking up a debutante ball. Debutante is a French word. It's kind of like a coming-of-age ceremony for children. But in any case, it's also a nice kind of ball, because I like dressing up. That could be, you're always looking for a prom theme. I think debutante ball would be a great prom theme. Nice change of pace from what we usually have with the more country western stylings. Anyway, did you have a ball preference, Trevor? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. A real pregnant pause here. Nothing like a podcast like dead air. I think Trevor's just stuck because he likes so many different varieties. Bowling balls, baseballs. They're all great. We can move on from this. We're 5 minutes on ball types here.
I like gumballs.
Gumball. Yeah. You have a favorite color?
Blue.
That's a good one. I was going to say yellow. But blue is respectable as well.
Not a serial killer, are you? You like yellow?
Well, no, the reason is because I used to go on a vacation every year to Wells, Maine, and there was a little country store where you could buy ice cream, but they also had a gumball machine, and the gimmick was if you got a yellow gumball, you got a free soft serve ice cream. So I'd spend way more money trying to win a free ice cream than paying for it, but in my opinion, the excitement was there. Put in the quarter, it came down, no idea what would come out. Get that yellow gumball. I got like 5 ice creams one day.
Yeah.
Spent $20 in quarters, no regrets.
I'm just going to say right now, probably like 3/4 of this is going to get cut out.
That's
in post.
fine. Hey, even if you cut it all out, if it helped you warm up, that's good.
No.
And you learned something new. You learned about the shape of mutts, fresh mutts and debutantes. So
Because I was telling Miss Young about how long I wanted this to be, and I was like,
you're looking
probably
for
around
10
like,
minutes. We're 5 minutes on gumball.
I said to her, I'm probably looking for like no more than 45 minutes, like half-hour range. And
All right.
she looked at me like I had 3 heads.
Because that was too short or too long?
Too long.
Because most I'd say the short podcasts that are big right now were like an hour. It's
Yeah.
really tight.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what we get to. I'd say if you want to cut this out, maybe if you want to make an exclusive content page, this can be part of that.
I just like to point out the great ambience of this podcast.
What do you notice with the ambience? I can't tell if that's in the room or from the headphones.
Now the mic is picking it up.
Well, the mic picks up a lot, and it's good. People should know we are in a classroom right now. There are about 10 other students in here
It's humbling.
learning their hearts out.
We're not in the recording studio in a big foam cube.
Well, not yet. So anyway, since you're going to cut out, anyway, I'll give you a quick history lesson. We can jump in. So probably the best broadcaster of all time, kind of before broadcast, I'd argue was Howard Stern. Not sure if you're familiar with
A
Howard.
little bit, yeah.
So he's been on the radio over 40 years and kind of revolutionized the way people do interviews and the way people have guests. And I'd say podcasts probably wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Howard. But when he was in college, he had a radio show called the King Schmaltz Bagel Hour that was terrible, and it was so bad. The producer called up and actually fired them on air, and they had to like continue with the show. And so like at first he was very discouraged and it was humiliating because he wanted to be a radio guy. That kind of gave him the experience he needed to eventually go on to make the Howard Stern show. And so you being in school, whether this is great or bad, it could be your King Schmaltz Bagel Hour, meaning you'll be big one day. This is kind of just how you cut your teeth, so to speak.
Yeah.
How's that for an
You
explanation?
gotta walk before you can run.
That's right. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for listening to our sponsors for SimplySafe.com. Promo code PIONEER. It's $30 per month for cameras, sensory systems, but hey, what price can you put on peace of mind?
Manscaped or Dollar Shave Club?
Ooh, I'd say the former on that one. More variety.
Yeah.
More variety.
I like the nose trimmers. And
Yeah, they have everything.
the crop preserver.
I'm not going to get into specifics of what I like from my grooming habits, Trevor, not on this podcast, but I will say both have great things. I think Dollar Shave Club maybe has a better post-shave do, but Manscaped, I like all the sprays they have, you know. Welcome back, everybody. If you're just joining us, Trevor has some hard-hitting questions for me. They're written down. I've seen, I think, 3, and I forgot what they were. But his classmates also chimed in with some questions. So we've got a lot to discuss today, Trev. Why don't you kick us off? The people must know.
I am most interested as your part of your life concerning Freemasonry.
Ooh. Yeah, so for those of you at home who can't see, I am wearing a Freemason ring. It's a square and compass. Trevor first saw this when he was asking me for advice on an essay sophomore year, and he was very freaked out. The blood drained out of his face. He says, "Short, why are you wearing that?" And I said, "Well, I'm a member, Trev." And then he slowly walked back to his seat, and it hasn't come up again for about 2 years. And so Trevor thought maybe in the public's eye, this is the time to bring it up. So you're interested in Freemasonry. What would you like to know?
I won't elaborate further on the question. But you,
Good.
on this question I'm about to ask, but it's more just a context question of
I love context.
why you're a Freemason. But do you
Sure.
view yourself as a very religious person?
I wouldn't say very religious, no. I would say maybe slightly religious.
You don't see yourself being devout?
I mean,
You're not drinking stale bread and grape juice every Sunday?
I don't attend church regularly, if that's what you're asking. But I mean, there's many different ways you could look at religion or what being devout means. Religions are all different. They all have different values. So I'm probably devout to some things.
I only ask that because from the very minimal research I did on Freemasonry, they seem to be very religious in Christianity. And it struck me because I never really took you as like a devout, like, I hate abortion person.
How did you take me?
A guy that tries acting 10 years younger than he is, wearing foam runners.
Well, that's partially true. You got to stay young.
I will say you pull it off.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, they're polarizing. I can be a polarizing guy. So to be a Freemason, all you need is a belief in a higher power. So I wouldn't say... so you definitely don't need to be a Christian. You could be a Christian, but you could be from any religion or not even have a religion. If you just believe in the concept of a higher power, you can be a Freemason. So I myself am not extremely religious, nor do I go to church regularly. I would say belief in a higher power is part of my life, but it's more of a personal, spiritual thing. So yes, you mentioned abortion. I'm not going to comment on that on a podcast because I've got liberal, conservative students. I will never chime in on which way people should believe.
Yeah.
What I do know is that I'm happy to be here in the United States of America. And that's all I know about that, Trevor. But that's what's interesting, though. It's all about different walks of life. You might have a Christian brother, a Jewish brother, a Muslim brother, a Buddhist brother. You're not supposed to, I guess, you're not supposed to believe in Satan. That would be, I guess, a lower power instead of a higher power.
Would you mind explaining to me, like I'm 5, what Freemasonry is?
Sure. Well, Freemasonry is a few different things, and so I'll tell you what. I'll start explaining different columns of it, then you can pause me if you have a question. That sound good? Mm-hmm. All right, cool. So essentially, what Freemason is mainly is a fraternity, which is just a group of people who hang out over some sort of common bond. If you go to college at some point, you might join a fraternity. So the Freemasonry is a fraternity for adults. The only things you need as a prerequisite to get in necessarily are it is a gentleman's club. There's a female version of Freemasonry called the Order of the Eastern Star. So there's something for everyone. But to be a Freemason, all you need to do is be a man and then also believe in a higher power. As far as what the fraternity does, a few different things. Mainly, they do a lot of charity events. So you might see them around town having fundraisers, having dinners, collecting money for some organizations. Usually every year at my lodge, the place Freemasons meet is called a lodge. We'll have like one charity we'll raise funds for throughout the year. part of that is also charity for each other. A lot of Freemasons are older, just like with your schedule, it's easier to fit in time for that if you're retired. And so if somebody, let's say, is having car problems or health problems or needs help shoveling, the lodge might kind of chime in together to help out that way. Also, too, if you die and you have a wife who's widowed and has trouble keeping up with things, people from the Freemason Lodge might help, tasks around the house if she needs anything. That's one thing. Also, I can't go super deep on this, but there's something called ritual that happens in Freemasonry. I really can't discuss what that is. The reason is because you have a best friend, Trev.
Yeah.
And I'm going to bet you tell your best friend things that you don't tell anybody else. Is that fair to say?
For the most part, yes.
Yeah, so in all fraternal organizations, whether it's fraternities or sororities, there's some level of secrets that are used, I think, to bond the group that make you part of the in-group. So that might be a secret sign or a secret word or a secret handshake or a secret dance move or something like that. And Freemasonry is no different. I would say Freemasonry is all about taking good men and making them better, and so most of the ritual is all about self-development, leading a good life, and being the best version of yourself. And so if I were to ever say what happened in the rituals, for instance, one, if you or somebody who's listening ever wanted to be a member, you couldn't really live the experience in the same way, so it would ruin it for you, for one. But also, too, that would mean I'm not trustworthy. So it's one of those things, people talk about Masonic secrets, like there's gold under a certain building, I know where it is. It's not really that. It's more secrets about the ritual and how you might speak with other Masons. And the idea is that, let's say I'm your brother, fraternally I'm your brother, and you want to know if you can trust me, because we break bread together every so often, you might need me in a jam. If you can't trust me with a secret word or a secret handshake, how are you going to trust me with serious stuff? How are you going to trust me with money? How are you going to trust me to help out when you need help? And so I wouldn't break trust with people who took time to help welcome me into their group and give me a hand when I need it. So in terms of what they do, fraternity, ritual, and charity, I'd say are the big three.
How long have you been a Freemason for?
I think about 4 years.
Oh, more recently.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming the common bond is stonemasonry, correct?
That's a good question, and it's kind of yes and kind of no. Everything in Freemasonry is symbolic, and so there's a lot of symbolism that comes from stonemasonry, but I've never met a mason who is an actual Mason.
When I was researching this, I was kind of confused because
It's intentionally
there's
confusing.
a bit of a distinction between stonemasonry and Freemason, I think. Is there?
Well, there's a big difference. As a stonemason builds things. Well, so actually, here's I guess the analogy I can give you is a stonemason builds buildings, and a Freemason is trying to build themselves and build their community.
Okay, I just I mentioned that because I was researching the origins, and it from my resources, which was probably Wikipedia, said that it originated from stonemasonry. Does that sound right to you?
Well, here's what I can tell you, and if I'm wrong, it's only a little bit wrong. So just take the heart, take the essence of what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Back in the day, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, being a stonemason was a very challenging profession to be in, and there was a lot of knowledge you'd have that was kind of unique to you. You couldn't go online and learn it. You had to be an apprentice and get training before you're a master stonemason. And so during I'm not really a history guy, Trev. I'm a half history guy. I forget terms sometimes. Back in the day, where people would be feudal, living in a feudal kind of environment where you work for a castle or work for a master, you weren't always allowed to travel around freely. You'd have to get permission to travel places. And so stonemasons were an exception because there were so few stonemasons, and they would have permission to travel from place to place to build buildings and do all these sorts of different projects. And so stonemasons would have certain phrases and passwords they would go to prove they're a master mason. So if you were my apprentice, once you got to a certain level, I'd give you a secret word, and then you could travel around to different places building stone sculptures and castles, whatever the case may be. And so the analogy with Freemasonry is twofold. One is that they use a lot of the tools that are used in stonemasonry to create analogies for self and community development, but also as far as me as a Freemason, I might travel from lodge to lodge. I would use a certain word or a handshake to let people know that I was a member, in the same way that old stonemasons used to do, traveling around to say, I have permission to be here, essentially.
I'm just laughing to myself because what you're describing reminded me of Assassin's Creed.
I haven't played Assassin's Creed, but I heard they pull from a lot of historical events, so there could be some overlap there. I wonder if we have any Assassin's Creed fans in the audience. They're going to be loving this right now if we do.
Are you secretly an assassin, Mr. Short?
Not yet, but don't count me out. I'm still young.
What made you want to become a Freemason?
A few different things. One is that I'm not from the area, and so I thought being part of an organization where I could meet some good people around me, get to know my town a little bit more is good. That's one thing. Two is that I care about my town, so I think being able to help make the town a better place, one for myself and two for my kids once they grow up, is a good idea. And three, I guess I've always just been a curious cat, if you will. Always been attracted to mysteries, and I've always been really interested in secret societies in general. Freemasonry seemed like a good fit for me once I learned more about it. I tried making my own secret society twice, but neither of them worked out.
I'd just like to mention that 13 minutes into the recording, that was the first time the title of this episode has been mentioned.
Oh, what's
Secret
the title
Societies.
Of it? Oh, wow.
Well, no.
We kept people in suspense.
I'm probably just going to call it pilot, to be honest.
Okay.
But that
We can talk about planes,
Secret
too.
Societies was the, believe it or not, theme of this recording.
So, yeah, we're labeling it secret societies, and only one is going to be mentioned, and it's not even a secret society. I should differentiate that, Trev. I was interested in secret societies. Come to find out, Freemasonry actually doesn't qualify as a secret society.
Yeah.
You call it a society with secrets. Reason is, if you ever want to become a Mason, you can go to a website, see where it is.
Yeah.
Their hours are
there's
public.
Physical buildings you
Yeah,
can
there's
go
secrets
to.
within it. If you're talking about, like, you go to Yale and there's, like, Skull and Bones or whatever, that's debatable whether it even exists. I think it probably does, but it's not like they have a meeting place or a time you could Google or, like, send an application to.
Yeah, or like the Illuminati or...
Right. With so many, it's hard to keep track.
Yeah.
Probably some right here at Pathfinder Tech, if we're being honest. There could be. We don't know. Couldn't prove it.
I gave you a suspicious look.
Yeah. Well, hey, maybe you're a member of it. I mean, all you need is a few people and a secret word and I don't know. You could do something nefarious or maybe not.
They should start having the blind translators on podcasts so they can describe to people what's happening, since it's not being like visually recorded.
Blind, like we talk about, like what color shirts we have on.
They have like closed captions for deaf people, but it's like it describes for blind people. It describes what's actively happening. Like in movies, it'll say like Superman flew down and.
Oh, that sounds good. Yeah, I'm for it. It'd be like Mr. Short is gesturing wildly. Trevor's looking pensively. That could add something. I like that. Maybe in when you edit this up, you can chop some of those things in.
This is badly. I'm blanking on the word.
Blanking is, but we'll make up a new word, Trevor. That's what Shakespeare did. He made up like over 1,000 words just to describe something that he wanted to say, but there wasn't a word for it.
Do we still use those words today?
Yeah, plenty of them.
Can you think of any off the top of your head?
Nope. They're so ingrained in the lexicon of modern English. I couldn't pull any. But there's going to be like 15 that come up right away. Be like, oh yeah, I say that all the time.
So I would just like to mention for this podcast,
Like a wild goose chase.
yeah, the theme is Secret Society, but I mean, it's called Ramble with me, so probably only like 10 minutes of it is going to be actually about Secret Society.
Whatever you want. What I know is that you have a sheet full of questions. We've gotten to 2. And we could ramble. We could go through. I know that we have one audience member who also added a question. We have to get to his at some point because he seems very excited.
Some of these have been written by ghostwriters. I've had some eyewitness accounts tell me that you have been seen going for strolls around the graveyard across the street.
Almost every
At the
day.
beginning of the school day.
I do that, yes.
You do that.
You're wondering, does that seem creepy to people? People seem very weirded out. They think I'm doing something satanic there.
A little bit. I mean, if you just see a stranger do that almost every day, or, I mean, in the context of your coworker, that just, they know of you, but they don't really talk to you.
They say, yeah, there's this tall guy. He wears a suit once a week. Why is he always in the graveyard? That's a good question. So the reason I always like health and wellness, and one thing I've heard is great to do physically is to do 30 minutes of steady state cardio, which is like a walking or something, while you're fasting. And so at that point in the day, I haven't eaten yet. Sometimes if I wake up early enough from my house, I'll like go on the exercise bike downstairs. But I don't always have time in the morning, and I also think it's good to get outside and get natural sunlight in the morning. And so if I'm at work early and I don't have like things I need to do that are pressing to get ready for the day, I find if I take a little walk around the graveyard, I like it because if I walk around the school, I'm next to cars, cars and it's loud. I'm crossing the street, but the graveyard's very peaceful, and there's like 4 different trails in it, so I can kind of do figure eights and stuff and have variety in my walk. Get my steps in for the day, so I feel healthy. I get a bunch of natural sunlight and fresh air, so it helps me kind of wake up and feel good. I'm also very into like podcasts and audiobooks. I listen at 1.5 speed, so I have 45 minutes of content, 30 minutes of walking, tons of fresh air. I come in and I'm shot out of a cannon. I'm ready for the day. I'm feeling great. So that's why I do it. And one thing I like about the graveyard too, and this isn't why I started doing it, it was more of a location thing, but sometimes, I'm not a very petty person, but sometimes I am angry at people or resentful toward people. Just, things happen in life. And being around graves in the morning, it's a nice humbling reminder that one day I'll be dead. One day, everyone I love will be dead. One day, everybody I'm mad at will be dead. Don't take things so seriously, because in the scheme of things, everyone around you had big opinions and disagreements and petty squabbles they held on to, and none of it matters. It's good to give yourself that reminder as often as possible. So these are the reasons I'm in the graveyard. Fasted cardio, time for the podcast, and a humbling reminder that I am a very finite being. And there's no people, and there's not really cars. Like, I see cars when I cross the street and stuff, but I'm not contending with noise, and I have a little privacy.
You're not 6 feet away from them.
Right.
Yeah.
No ghosts yet, though, so one thing I like to do is listen to horror podcasts in October, and I figured I'm listening to a horror podcast in a graveyard every morning. You'd think something, like, kind of spooky might happen. I can see something out of the corner of my eye. Nothing. So I think that might be, like, the least haunted graveyard in Palmer, if I'm guessing. But I never go in with disrespect, because if you go in with disrespect, then that's how demons attach to you, probably.
There is a very old graveyard on my street. The oldest graves that I've managed to read that are legible have been from like the 1700s.
It's a long time ago.
Yeah.
That does sound old. Sounds historical. Well, it's interesting too if you go to old graveyards, even the one across the street. There's lots of last names of students who might be your peers, your friends, and stuff. So it's kind of interesting to think. Oh, I wonder if this is so and so's great grandparent. Gives you a sense of continuity for the area. So that's nice.
I forgot, but I remembered.
Thank God.
When I was asking you about, I just wanted to circle back to it.
Please.
When I was asking you about why you decided to become a Freemason, you mentioned you didn't know a lot of people because you weren't from around here, and I was just curious where you originate from.
Good question. The people must know. I grew up in southern New Hampshire in a little town called Danville. No one's heard of it because nothing happens there. For context, it is very close to Hampton Beach. So people know Hampton Beach. People might know like Haverhill, Mass. Also where Rob Zombie's from. It's like 20-25 minutes from both those places. So the town itself has nothing, but it's very close to a lot of cool things.
It's like Palmer. It's a pass-through town.
No, Palmer is a big city compared to Danville. Danville literally has one corner store. You go to Palmer, they have diners, they have restaurants, they have places to get eyeglasses, they have a CVS. Like, these things sound small to you.
I just said that because there's a lot of seasonal traffic for, like, the flea markets and whatever.
Yeah, like in Brimfield, they have that as well. Yeah, so, I mean, Palmer is not a huge attraction, but compared to, like, Danville literally only has a corner store. Like a convenience store. And, like, an elementary school.
Where's the nearest Walmart from Danville?
They're, like, 15 minutes away. So Danville is, like, an island of just trees, and there's nothing there. But it's close to Plastow, which is kind of like it's a stretch to call it a city. I guess technically it might be a small city. But because I was in southern New Hampshire, which is just a collection of small towns, at the time, right now there's like a teacher shortage. So if you're a teacher and want to get a job, you can have pretty good luck going around. But there was not at the opposite of a shortage back then. So if there was ever a teaching job posted, there'd be like 150 applicants. So I was having trouble finding my own classroom. And my wife lived out in Munson. I met her when she was in college, and so when she graduated, she got a job at Bay State Hospital, and so we were having the talk about, we wanted to get married eventually and stuff, so we were having the talk about who should move, and it was like, well, I'm in Danville, and I can't get a full-time job, and you're out in Munson, where there's tons of schools around, and you have a great job at Bay State Hospital, so it made sense for me to relocate. Trevor's looking up the route on 495 to get to Danville if you ever want to visit. There's a lot of great things in southern New Hampshire. I wouldn't put Danville on your map. You'll be very disappointed. But the surrounding towns are great.
Have I been to New Hampshire? I don't think I have.
Well, you're missing out. It's a great state. Pretty much only I would say that, but I do like it a lot there.
Imagine having lakes, mountains, beaches, small towns, and small
No.
cities all in one place.
I remember now. I did go to New Hampshire over Memorial Day weekend. That's in September, right? Memorial Day.
Yes.
Yeah. We tried going to Rye Beach, New Hampshire. We did not find Rye Beach, so we ended up at the State Beach,
That would be Hampton, probably.
I think.
Hampton's the biggest attraction as far as beaches go in New Hampshire.
It was not the one with the big boardwalk. It wasn't touristy at all. It was different.
It was probably just a lake they called the State Beach.
No, it was a beach.
All right. Well, I haven't been. I've been to Rye. I've been to Hampton. You go
How
over
do
in
you
the
get the
Mass line.
Rye?
I don't know the directions. I just think I've been there at some point. I don't think I like it because there's lots of
We saw
greenheads.
signs for Rye and then just stopped. It's like right this way.
You probably weren't missing out on anything. You know, a beach is a beach as long as you have waves. That's what it's all about.
Back to Freemasonry.
Sure. Good pivot.
My,
That was very, very sleek transition.
Could you tell me what so motet be means?
Yeah, so mote it be essentially is like the 1700s way of saying amen.
Amen.
And so if you're saying a prayer and you're in a Masonic context, you might say, so mote it be,
Yeah.
which means, so for instance, it's an archaic way of saying, may it be so. And so if I was doing a prayer for your health, I might say something like, may Trevor feel very healthy and have a happy day, so mote it be. So yeah, if you ever are going to a graveyard with a lot of Masonic gravestones, a lot of them say, so mote it be on them. So. Sorry I couldn't give you more. It's a very straightforward answer.
No.
That's one of the questions that is not very veiled in mystery.
I think those are the only questions that are veiled in mystery.
Well, and that one wasn't even veiled in mystery. So that's pretty good. We can be straightforward with our audience. It helps build
I might have
trust.
to fire one of my writers.
Why?
They wrote a question that I feel like I can really only ask someone if they're familiar with the context of the question.
Well, ask me, and if I don't know, I'll just say pass.
Where were you the day Tilted Towers got hit?
But what do you mean by tilted towers? You mean like, is that a twin tower thing? You're making a 9/11 joke?
No.
What's the tilted tower? Or should I just say pass? Is this too much of a story?
No, it's in.
'Cause I do have class in 10 minutes.
It's a very not well known game called Fortnite.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what I
I
asked.
don't like Fortnite.
Yeah.
I've never played it. I've seen people play it. I think it looks boring,
I
like a
don't-
time sink.
I don't blame you.
I don't blame your generation for doing it because you were in middle school and you were locked down with COVID, so you didn't have a lot going on. It was free, so no hate, but not for me.
I played a lot of Roblox in quarantine.
Yeah, that was a big one too. I remember. I didn't. I played Mario Odyssey. Got me through.
I did have a PS3. I would play a lot.
Classic console. I never had a PS3.
Dead Space.
Yeah. You ever watch Always Sunny? They tried doing a podcast and
Yeah. a
they
little
run
bit.
out of stuff to say within 30 seconds, so Danny DeVito just goes, dead air! And that's I have that thought frequently.
Yes, I feel like that's what's happening right now.
Well, that's why we edit. We're going to have 45 minutes. You can cut it to the best 15.
Best 15 seconds. That reminds me, are you familiar with the Eric Andre show?
I am familiar with it. I haven't really seen it. I've heard Eric Andre in interviews.
I bring that up because I was watching him. I think it was his Hot Ones interview, and he mentioned that they record for like hours, but it's surprising because the episodes are like 11 minutes.
You gotta keep the meat and throw away the bone. That's
Yeah,
what I say.
they've had a lot of times where the guests are just like done because it's like it's one more take. We're not here for much longer when there's like an hour left.
Yeah, there's a show that was kind of similar to that called Space Ghost, Coast to Coast. Old superhero. Then they
I'm
rebooted him
familiar.
for Adult Swim.
I haven't watched it myself, but I'm familiar.
I didn't realize it when I was a kid, but at the time, but essentially what they do is they have a long interview, and then they chop it up so like the guests are responding to questions that weren't asked at that time, and so the whole thing is very bizarre and disorienting. It used to come on at like 1 a.m. when I was a kid, and so I tried to stay up and watch it because I thought it was funny. It's very weird. I'm not sure if it aged well. Maybe it lives better in my mind. I don't know. You'll have to watch it and let me see. You could steal the name. Trevor McRae, Coast to Coast.
I'm more of a Aqua Teen guy.
That came on after. That was the whole block. You had Space Ghost, Aqua Teen, Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, and home movies. That was what 6th grade was for me. And if you're lucky, a little chaotic wrestling would come on.
When I was younger, my parents were always strict about 8 o'clock bedtimes, but if they didn't pay any attention, I wouldn't say anything. So it was always a treat to have the opportunity to stay up and watch an hour of King of the Hill.
Oh, wow.
On Adult Swim.
That does sound like a treat. You know, it's the little things, those indulgences.
Yeah.
Trev, what else are you curious about? We only kind of got to the surface level of Freemasonry, if you want to go there. I'm kind of a mysterious guy in general, if you have questions about good old Mr. Short. It could be on your sheet, off your sheet. Before I go, what do you or the people at home want to know? I'll also open it up to the audience. If any audience wants to come over to the mic and throw in a Q&A question, that's fine too. What other ground could we go? Come on up.
Come on, Howard.
We have this kid named Howard. I gave him permission. Thank you. He was wearing his hood, which he knows I hate. He took it off.
You want to know something? This guy here is my.
So right in the mic, Howard. What could I've never talked to you before today. So how can we break the ice? What would you like to know?
So I asked Mr. Freeman this question, and I just wanted to get your insight on this. Cookies or tiramisu?
Easily cookies, and it's not even a discussion. One, because there's like one way. Thank you. Because there's like one way to do tiramisu, and it's good. But I hate how soft it is. I hate how it's always kind of falling apart. I hate how it's a process. Yeah. With cookies, you have variety. There's 100 different ways to make cookies, each one more delicious than the last. And for tiramisu, I think you need to be in a certain kind of mood. No matter what mood you're in, there's always at least one kind of cookie that's right for you. Is it a Oreo? Is it a Chip Ahoy? Is it homemade?
Absolutely.
And also, and then I'll let you finish, I promise. I just like to like things. I don't like when we treat things like this giant indulgence. And I feel like tiramisu is like, you can't just have somebody normally say, okay, I'd like some tiramisu. It's, oh, have you tried the tiramisu? And they make it a whole production. It annoys me to the point where I'm actually getting like feverishly hot now. So cookies is my answer. Thank you.
Absolutely. I fully agree with you on that. Cookies, extremely reliable. Yeah. I always have Chips Ahoy prepped in the pantry, and when I walk by, I always grab myself one. So fully agree with you on that one.
You're going places, Howard. And
thank you.
And people at home who are saying, oh, sure, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Howard, who's he? Try dipping tiramisu in a glass of milk and see what happens.
Exactly. Try passing by your kitchen and taking a bite of tiramisu every time you do it. You can't. You'll throw up.
Yeah. Disgusting. I'm going to come out and say, actually, I can't swear on the podcast, but
sure you can.
I will say tiramisu up your nose with a rubber hose.
Dang.
That's a hot take.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Howard.
Is that nice a shot at Mr. Freeman?
No, I like and I respect Mr. Freeman.
I was hoping for a Pac and Biggie beef.
No, I mean, I think people are allowed to be wrong. And this is an example where Mr. Freeman's wrong. And that's fine. I'm probably wrong about some things, too.
Pretzel or cracker combos?
If I eat combos once every 2 years, probably pretzel, I guess. If I want something that's that crunchy, that's what I go for.
We have until, 6 minutes?
Yeah.
We've been recording for 40 minutes.
And
it hasn't felt like that.
It's all been gold, man. It's all been gold.
Man.
You know what I like, too? And I don't mean, and this is going to sound sarcastic, but it's not. I think it's great to be in a society where you can live like a full life, be part of secret society, have families, have a job, have all these experiences. And then in an empty room, you say, would anybody like to know anything about my knowledge or experiences or wisdoms? And the 2 questions I get are about my snack preference. I think that's amazing. Like, we're doing a hard-hitting interview. It's your pilot episode. You have the mysteries of the universe at your hands. And we're like, sure. If you're having a dessert, are you going for the Chip Ahoy? Are you going for the pretzel combo? And that sounds sarcastic, but it's not. I think it's awesome. Because that's a level of intimacy for, like, sure, tell me about life. I'm going to talk about forgiveness, whatever. But, like, I think the minutia of people's lives, like Shakespeare, you can hear a lot about his art and philosophy and beliefs. I don't know what he ate. I wish I did. Like, if we had a Hot Wings podcast with Shakespeare, he could go on JRE for 3 hours. There's a lot of stuff he'd bring up, like, what kind of tea does he like? Like, those things are really interesting, and you never get to it. So I think it's cool to have a format where, like, not the big parts of people's lives, but the minutia of people's lives can be explored so fully.
I just worry this whole thing is just going to be a whole nothing burger. I feel bad for any poor
So-
souls that...
So hey, you feel disappointed by how the podcast turned out. I think what would we have done differently? So it's your pilot episode. The pilot's always the worst one, so I didn't mind breaking the ice with you. For the next episode, what would you change? Or what would you have changed if we were to re-record this one?
Take more Focalin.
Focalin?
Yeah.
What's that?
My medication for
You felt it was hard to focus.
attention deficit hyperactivity disorder.
Okay, you think more would have helped?
Maybe.
Well, hey, one way to find
Because
out.
I found
experiment
myself...
with it.
Maybe it's because I'm a little dehydrated, but I found myself, whenever you are answering my questions, I just think about the next thing I'm going to say, which is what... We were talking about that in our, half-hour mic check yesterday.
Yes.
Which might end up in the deep cut of this.
Actually, I think the mic check might have been a more interesting conversation. I think if you want to split up the mic check into this episode, do a thing where, you have a music transition, and we'll cover, 7 topics. Because I think, for most people, the eye contact thing might have been more interesting than me talking about why I became a Freemason. Because Freemasons, we actually almost didn't talk about Freemasonry at all. You didn't even ask me what level I was at, how many levels there were.
I don't know that much about Freemasonry.
Didn't know. Well, I know you did some cursory research. You didn't ask me about the Knight. I'm setting up the sequel here because I want to be on again.
Okay.
You didn't ask me about the Knights Templar. You didn't ask me about the Shriners or the Scottish Rite.
They're related to...
Yeah, any Shriner you meet is a Freemason.
Oh.
To become a Shriner, you need to be a Freemason. So essentially, it could be a very small, distilled thing. You can imagine becoming a Freemason, like going to college. There's 3 levels in it. And then once you get to the 3rd level, you call that a Master Mason. There's 12 other groups you can join. But a prerequisite is being a Master Mason. And so, there's still people today who are, in the Knights Templar, but you need to become a Freemason first to go, as you call it, to the York Rite. But yeah, it goes very deep. It's one of those things where once you know about it, you kind of see it everywhere. The Lodge I'm in is actually founded by Paul Revere, if you can believe it.
The what was founded?
The lodge that I go to, the Freemason Lodge, was Paul Revere was a founding member.
Where is this lodge you go to?
It was in Palmer and it closed. Now it's in Munson.
I'd like to ask, are the Masonic lodges open to the public? Could you just walk in with your...
You can't just walk in the sense that they're not open 7 days a week, but usually they have an open house once or twice a year.
Oh, okay.
Or if you were interested in joining, you could just email somebody at the lodge and ask for a tour or something. They have little pamphlets you can get.
What are the requirements to become a Freemason?
You have to be an adult male and believe in a higher power. And there's a little bit more to it. They get to know you a little bit. They'll go to your house to make sure you're not a weirdo. They interview you a little bit just to make sure you're coming in for the correct reasons. Because some people would think Masonry rather is a weird cult that it's a cabal that runs the world. If that's what you think it is, they don't want you to join. But those are the only 2 requirements I guess you have on paper. Well, this is because the bell's gonna ring and I have to get my stuff. We probably should wrap it up. But I want to say thanks so much to all our listeners. Thanks for having me on today. And no idea how this is gonna get spliced and turned out. But I'm happy we're here for the experiment. Trevor, any last word for the audience?
I was just gonna say the outro. Yeah, dead air. Yay. That's all the time we have left for today, folks. Tune in next time, maybe, if I end up making more of these. Thank you for watching.
Hey now.